Hello, one and all. Welcome to the Galaxy Man Show. For my very next guest on the show for tonight is this incredible artist known by the name of Piper Rodrigues, who's joining the show next up. So, please welcome Piper Rodrigues on the show. The next guest, here's Piper Rodrigues. Hello, Piper. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks, Jacob. How are you?
Really good, thanks. I just want to say first up, thank you so much, Piper, for taking the time to join my show. It is such an
Oh,
incredible pleasure having you on. To people that,
thank you.
no, you're very welcome. To people that don't know who you are, Piper, if you can give like a bit of backstory about yourself, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have always been surrounded by music as a child. Since I was a child, very small. My grandfather was a musician back in the 60s. He played bass in a band called Ray Brown and the Whispers. So I'd always been really surrounded by like that blues roots kind of stuff and like Motown, all that kind of thing. My mum loved country music. She'd played in the car with me on the way to and from school, was really into like Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, Shania Twain, all that really good like 70s, 90s kind of stuff. And my dad owned a disco company in the 80s. So I was very much exposed to quite a wide breadth of music from a really young age. And I think that really helped kind of shape me into the songwriter I am now. I'm a singer-songwriter. I live in Newcastle. And I think my upbringing has really helped shape who I am and who I am as a musician. And I think it's why I personally don't feel like I fit in a certain kind of genre pocket. I think mainly country is the one that I most kind of resonate with. But with me, without sounding really up myself, I think I'm very much I'm taking bits from every pie just because I don't like to really, one thing that I'm really terrible at is boxing myself in. So I just kind of don't think about it and just make stuff, because then I'll get myself into quite like a very anxious state.
So we'll dive right into the questions now, Piper. So for my very first question, you have a new song release out now on all platforms, which is such an incredible song title and a great release, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. So, Exit Wounds, like, what was it like releasing this song? How do you feel as an artist, like, now that it's out to the world and people are listening to it? How does it make you feel?
I feel pretty bloody good about it, actually. I'm not going to lie. I feel pretty damn good. I think coming from a place, that song was written when I was in a spot that wasn't, it was less than kosher. It didn't feel very good. I was in a relationship. I'd gotten out of it. The relationship sucked. Usually I would be one of the first people to be like, hey, I was once in a relationship with this person. I once really loved them. I held a lot of respect for them. But with this person, honestly, they deserve every single song they get. And writing and recording Exit Wound was so therapeutic. I think, especially since once this relationship ended, mention of this person kept popping up. I kept hearing from them, and I was just like, please, for the love of God, stop. Please stop. You were the one that burned the bridge. Don't try and force me to mend it, kind of thing. And the song really came from a spot where I was like desperate to not hear from this person again. I was really desperate to move on. And I was kind of inching my way over to feeling empowered. And I think that was a really interesting thing to write about, because I feel like a lot of people have written about it before, but to actually feel it myself and write it myself was such a different thing, because I'm only 23 and the song was written when I was 21 and I hadn't had much experience with anything. I think I was a very sheltered child and I really liked it that way for quite a long while. So dealing with that and then writing about it with someone like Haley Marston, who I wrote it with, was really great, because not only do I love Haley as a friend, but I love her as a songwriter. I think every time we've been together, whether it's writing or just catching up, we have like exited rooms and buildings in like fits of tears of laughter. So to go through and just be like, hey, I've been watching a lot of Western movies and a lot of Game of Thrones, and like the best thing you could hope in shows like that are exit wounds. So we just went with it, and it feels really good to have it out in the world and to have a music video coming out for it really soon too. Being able to do what I do and create things the way that I want, I'm really grateful to be able to do it.
So on to my very next question. So you've also created like incredible other songs. And for the next song I'm going to mention is I Hate That I Love, which is another incredible song title of yours. Like, what was it
Thank you.
like? No, you're very welcome. Like, what was it like creating this like single, I Hate That I Love? And what's the meaning behind this one?
So I Hate That I Love It really kind of stemmed from me just sitting in my room in the middle of lockdown, just being like, what gives? Honestly, what am I doing? What the hell is anyone doing? One thing, a very noticeable theme throughout my music that you'll probably notice in things that I've released and will release are just kind of like from me going, what? What is happening? I don't know what's going on. And I Hate That I Love It is like pretty much like the pinnacle of that for me. I wrote I Hate That I Love It with my singing teacher, Lynn Botel. And I remember just being like, hey, I really love what I'm doing, but I hate feeling like I need to create things to please other people. And as much as I love doing that, I love doing that when I perform and when I release music, of course. It's something I'm always going to really hold on to. And I think it's a thing that artists will really hold on to regardless, whether they're like, no, I'm just being cool, I don't care what people think. Yeah, you do. Everyone does. And that's okay. Like, it's totally fine to feel that way. And that was just me coming to terms with that. And yeah, I think coming to terms with something like that at that point in time was really good for me because I was stuck inside. I was writing songs and I really just didn't know what the point of it all was anymore. And releasing that, writing it and then releasing it a couple of years after was just a really good, it was quite poetic because I didn't expect to start releasing music and for it as a new artist to be doing so well in like the country music scene. I'm pretty bloody surprised, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I like a lot of the times I'll get gearing up to release something and then like a couple of days before the release, because we put things out to radio first, my publicist would contact me and she's like, so we're in the top 10. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you positive? Double check it, please. And yeah, I think I Hate That I Love It really just captures that really nicely, because as much as I love music and I love doing what I do, it also makes me want to scream 90% of the time.
So on to my very next question. So you've also created a song called Ain't That Kind of Girl, which is amazing also. Like, I love how you have like really cool title names in your songs. Like, oh my God, I love it. I just love it. Ain't That Kind of Girl. Like, what was it like creating this one, and just like what's the meaning behind this song title?
I think the meaning behind the song is like I wrote it at a time where I believe I was just about to turn 20.
Okay.
Maybe I was just about to turn 20, between 20 and 21. I can't like quite remember. The COVID years were a bit of a fever dream, honestly. But I hate that. I ain't that kind of girl. Was just a lot of my songs come from questions, and it's just kind of like, what if I was just raw sex appeal all the time? What would that be like? Because aside from me doing my artist stuff and trying to present really well and be glittery and like be fun and perform, at the end of the day, right down to the core, I'm one of the least alluring, least coordinated. I'm a nerd. I'm an absolute dork of a human, and it's fine. I'm own it. I absolutely own it. It was just like, it's one of those things. I'm like, yeah, cool, great. And I think writing at that kind of girl and being like, hey, what if? But also, hold on, there are a lot of double standards, I think, especially with being a woman and then being a woman in country music. And how could I explore these things? What if I wasn't who I am? And what if I just didn't care? And writing a song like that and then creating a music video and performing it, it's so freeing and it's really fun. It's a really fun song to play live because I get to have a bit of a go of it singing. I get to really let it out. And then there are some cool guitar parts, there's cool fiddle. And I think one thing as an artist, I tend to forget when I'm so caught up in creating assets and making things look cool that I forget how fun it is to make things sound cool. Like, that's why I do all this in the first place. I like making cool noises, and to be able to work with people that also like to do that is really fun. And Ain't That Kind of Girl was such a fun, freeing thing to create. I mean, I got in a bathtub, and I remember the night before with my partner, Jack, we were sat and we got a bunch of Woolies mud cakes. And what we did was, like, for the opening shot of this video, if you've seen it, it's a cake that's been decorated to say Ain't That Kind of Girl. I did all that myself. And then also I have the same cake in the video, and I'm in a bathtub in like a sequined feathered dress. Like, it's just outrageous. It's ridiculous. And I just go into this cake and I go nuts. And I really love the concept of female rage in country music. And it's really fun to play into it. And that's what we did with Ain't That Kind of Girl.
So on to my very next question. So you've also created a song called Do or Die. What was it like creating this one, and what's the meaning behind Do or Die?
Well, songs like the song like I Hate That I Love It was very much like, what gives? What the hell? What's happening? And then Do or Die was kind of the full circle moment of, I'm going to own this. I'm weird. I make music. I know what I want from life, and I know who I am, kind of down sort of to the ethics section of things, who I am as a person. And Do or Die is just really about me just saying, hey, this is me, take it or leave it. I can't really change it. I don't think I want to change it. And it was really fun. I think it's probably the brightest song I've released so far. And yeah, creating that and going into a studio and recording it was really fun. And then making a music video for it and getting drag queens in a church, because that kind of imagery is just something I think we need to see more of, because I was like, things that are traditionally against each other working together. And I really liked that, and it was really fun. It was also super daunting to do my makeup in front of drag queens who were also doing theirs, and that was interesting, because they look incredible, but also what they stand for is incredible. And it was a really fun experience, because I'm such a new artist, and that was the second song I'd ever released. Going in, and I remember for the first time, this song was for the first time that I was like, okay, this is how I want things to be. I had a really clear idea, and I went in and I went with it, and I owned it, and I'm really proud of it.
So on to my very next question. So what made you decide as a person, and especially as an artist, to get into singing in the first place?
Well, it was something, if you ask my mum, it's something that I'd always done and had always been doing. My mum would play songs in the car. She played Jolene by Dolly Parton specifically. And I believe I would have been 5 or 6 years old. And I'd just sing it in the car, full belt. It was my favorite song. And I think my mum had just kind of seen something and gone, hold on, maybe we should get her singing lessons. But prior to that, my parents put me in my primary school talent show and dressed me up as a cowgirl. And I sang Jolene, and I was put into singing lessons. And for the first while, I did enjoy it, but I didn't really practice, because getting a 6-year-old to focus is hard. I know. I teach singing to 6-year-olds now. And it's hard to get them to focus, and that's not their fault. They're growing up and they want things to be fun and interesting, and me as a teacher and an artist, I need to make things fun and interesting, which is great. And then I picked up guitar, and for those first couple of years I was on and off with it. I liked it, and then I hit about 14, 15, and that's when I was really, really, really mad about it. I think a really strong turning point for me was when, funnily enough, Taylor Swift released the 1989 album. Like, before that, I was pretty enamored by the Red record. I loved it, and that's what got me kind of going with guitar and going with singing again. But then, like, 1989 was released, and my mind was blown. I'd always loved Taylor Swift, and I still really, really do. I could probably go on for about 40 minutes on how much I really love Taylor Swift. But listening to that stuff and learning how to play it made me really appreciate it and made me want to write songs of my own. And then also appreciating Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire and Trisha Yearwood, Emmylou Harris, all those kinds of really amazing women helped kind of build me up and shape me and get me started. And I haven't looked back ever since. I really enjoy it.
So on to my very next question. So what does performing music like mean to you? Like especially in front of crowds, like performing in front of crowds, like what does it mean to you?
Oh, to take the risk of sounding really cheesy, everything. It's something I've prepared myself to do and taught myself how to do. And it's just one of those things that kind of becomes an extra limb. And it's, yeah, it's something I don't think I could live without. I think if I like, God forbid, I lost a hand or like damaged my voice, I truly wouldn't know what to do with myself.
So on to my very next question. So what would like your all-time favorite cover song be and why?
Oh, see, this changes. This changes pretty often. And at the moment, like I could narrow it probably down to three. Things a Man Ought to Know by Lainey Wilson. Hillbilly Hippie by Lainey Wilson. Betty Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. And this is four, but I said I was going to do three, but I'm going to give you four anyway. That Don't Impress Me Much by Shania Twain.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So on to my very next question. So with performing, if you could work with like three top artists in the music industry, like who would you want to work with and why?
Oh God. Well, one of them I'm already working with. It's my partner, Jack Hudson. He's an amazing guitar player. He's his own artist. And he'll probably watch this, but honestly, I think he just needs to hear it more often. He's shit hot. He's bloody good.
Okay.
And the fact that we are able to make music and do shows together is one of my favorite things, and I'll cherish it forever. Lainey Wilson, I would love to do some work with Lainey Wilson. I think what she's doing at the moment is so cool. And it's so different, which is really nice because I think different's great. And then who else? I feel like this is reaching for the stars, Taylor Swift, but let's go to someone a little bit closer. And I would probably say Elle King.
Okay.
Elle King or Bonnie Raitt, maybe. I love Bonnie Raitt.
So on to my very next question for you. So if you could go anywhere on tour, take your music to any place, any country in the world, like where would you want to go to and why?
I wouldn't say no, really going anywhere unless they were going to kill me. That got really morbid really quickly. But that's the honest truth. Of course, around Australia would be amazing. I think that's just something that I'm trying to work towards at the moment. I'd love to go over to the States. I'd love to go over to Nashville again. I went there on holiday with my parents when I'd finished high school and fell in love with it. And to be able to go and play music, play like in a place like there or New Orleans and like Texas, like all those kinds of places it would be great. Country music.
So on to my very next question. So if you could like give any advice to any upcoming artists that want to start out in the music industry, like what advice would you give them and why?
I would just say to start. I think a lot of people waste their time on thinking about starting things and they just in turn don't. I think it's pretty easy to work yourself up and overthink that something's going to be really hard. But things have always worked best for me when I've just kind of sat myself down and gone, right, we're just going to do it.
So on to my very next question. So if you could give any advice to younger Piper, like looking back over your time in the music industry career, like what advice would you give to your younger self and why?
I think simple. And I think I just say to myself, you know what matters, you know what doesn't, even if you think you don't. And what you think really is going to be the end of the world isn't, not even close.
So on to my very next question. So what are like the positive and negative side into the music industry? And how do you get through those like negative moments as an artist?
I think the most negative thing about the music industry for me is sometimes myself. I sometimes talk myself into thinking that I'm not good enough to be doing what I'm doing. And that can be really harmful. And I have to really pull myself out of that and get my head out of my bum and pull my finger out and just get on with it. I think negative self-talk is probably the worst thing that a person can do for themselves, especially with what they do for work, and especially if it's because it's something I'm so passionate about. It's just so important. And I think the most positive thing about the music industry for me is the people. I think the people you meet, the places you play, it's all so important. And it's so nice to work with people that are like-minded. It's wonderful. And I don't think I could be more grateful.
So on to my very last question. So like what's next for you for the rest of 2023 onwards? Like anything you'd like to announce on the show?
I wouldn't say announce, but I think there's definitely some things coming up for the rest of the year. I have an EP coming out quite late in the year that I'm really excited to get together. Yeah, there's definitely music coming out. I'm in the process of sorting out some shows. Something I can announce actually that I was going to announce on social media after speaking with you is that I am supporting Amber Lawrence at the Rathmines Theatre on the 14th of July. So I'm pretty excited for that. And there's much more of that headed your way.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Piper, for making an appearance on my show. It has been such an incredible pleasure having you on. No, you're very welcome. Like, do you have any last final thoughts or anything that you like to share to people on the show?
Just thank you so much for having me. Thank you for supporting me as a new young artist. This kind of support is all I could ever dream of. And the fact that I'm being welcomed into the industry and to listeners with open arms is more than I could ever ask for. So thank you.
You deal the same